British Columbia has lifted rental restrictions. Hi, I'm Jesse Johnson, best-selling author and Greater Vancouver realtor and mortgage broker since 2006.
And I'm Azim Virani, longtime real estate investor and also Metro Vancouver realtor.
So in this episode of Own Your Life, the video podcast, we're going to cover the recent lifting of the restrictions within BC on rental restrictions in Strata 5 properties, as well as November's sales data.
We want to thank you again for tuning in with us on our regular podcast. We're changing things up a bit and going to be shortening our podcasts and bringing them to you more frequently so we can help you stay on top of what's going on in the real estate market. That's all the more reason to click the subscribe button and hit the like on this video, and hopefully you'll stay in touch as we bring you more informative videos.
The BC government has announced that your strata can no longer control rental policies within your organization. In addition to this, they're limiting the age restrictions to 55 and up, which I think is awesome. Now, this is in efforts to help, alleviate the current housing crisis. The provincial government has made this new policy. The goal is to help people find more affordable housing and help those in need that need to rent their homes. So there's approximately 2,300 units, actually 2,900 according to the Vancouver Sun, that are actually empty condos. People they're not able to rent them, and for whatever reason, they're not able to live in them anymore. That's gone. I think that's awesome. Azim, how about Airbnbs? How does this affect short-term rentals?
Yeah, so the provincial government was very clear about the fact that stratas can still regulate short-term rentals, whether that's daily, monthly, etc. That's still within the power of your strata. But it's, as you said, no longer can they put these general caps on 5 or 10% of the properties within the strata being allowed at one time to be rented out. What strata still have power over is limiting age restriction to 55 and up. But what they did take away is age restrictions below that. So, for example, some buildings had a minimum of 19 plus. So you could be an adult, but you couldn't have your kids with you. And if you had a kid, that puts you in limbo. Well, I think that's a good thing now, is it's going to open up the market and open up rentals to families, who should by all rights be able to rent any place out there. Now, to be clear, these rules came in on November 21st. So they were in effect immediately. So it's not something that's coming down the pipeline. We had heard that the new premier wanted to bring this in, and it is in now, and it's in full effect.
So let's just say you own a condo or townhome with a current age or rental restriction. What just happened to you basically overnight?
Well, you want a bit of the lottery, especially in these downtimes when prices on properties are coming down and there's, looming recession, high inflation, etc. Well, you just got a big boost to your property value, because what it means is that the list of potential buyers out there has just expanded exponentially. We can tell you, dealing with a lot of buyer clients, a lot of our clients who are looking to potentially buy investment property, but even still looking to buy property for themselves, wanted that ability and that safety net to know that in the future they could rent out their property. Well, if you were in one of these buildings that had these rental restrictions, how tough it was, how many buyers that, drew away from your property. Now all those buyers can buy with you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you could see equity gains of $50,000 to $100,000 overnight, or probably half already, just by removing just simply the rental restriction. So what if you had this dire need or desire to move to a larger property or to a different area, and you can't, or couldn't, I should say, in the past because of these rental restrictions? You weren't able to leave your little condo now that you've got a family and move somewhere else bigger because you couldn't rent the property out and you didn't want to give up the real estate holding. So Well, now you can, and we're here to help. Also, another thing to keep in mind, furnished suites in desirable neighborhoods can be very lucrative even with 30-day rentals, because a lot of stratas will permit that. It's defined as a mid-term instead of long-term or short-term. Mid-term rental in addition to 30 days may now be an option for you. But as Azim reminded me recently, some stratas still don't permit 30-day short-term rentals. It might need to be at least 3 months. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, but as Jesse was saying, that's still a viable and lucrative option. And if you're looking for help, definitely reach out to us. Our contact information is in the information below in the video. And we could advise you on the types of things you need to do to furnish your home, where to get the best stuff, what's needed, so that you can put you can put your place out as a furnished rental and earn some considerable money. Well, let's switch gears a bit here and look at the November sales data that just came out. So even though this time of year, as we start rolling into the holidays, as it gets colder, is generally when the market slows, unfortunately, the market has slowed even more than that. When you look at November sales, they're down 36.9% below the 10-year November average. That's looking at every November over the last 10 years. Relative to our November sales last year, we see a drop in this last November, 52.9%. And that's on top of a 15.2% decrease just from October. So inflation is on the top of everyone's minds. It's what economists are talking about. And, despite numerous rate increases by the central banks, in order to curb inflation, inflation is still high. And that's sort of what's looming over everyone's heads and what causing a lot of people to hold up on buying, kind of, stay hunkered down right now. There's a lot of negative energy out there in the market, and, people just don't want to put their money into real estate right now as much. The Bank of Canada, it's estimated, will make another increase, which could have even more of a negative effect, in the short term. A lot of that is factored in, of course, but when it comes down, there's a different opinion between what the economists have and what they know is coming down the pipeline versus what the consumer sees when they wake up to an email and, whoa, their mortgage rates have gone up even higher. Surely, if you look out your window right now, if you're living in the Metro Vancouver area, the snow and the cold weather isn't helping. We all love to see a bit of snow in Vancouver, but that's just going to make buyers that much less willing to step out their doors over the next little while.
So, Azim, to be clear, sales are down almost 53% from this time in November. I knew they were down a lot, but that's that's bad.
Yeah, totally. And if you really look at the stats, you know that last November was good, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as when we started rolling into the early part of 2022. So, yes, sales have dropped considerably since then. One thing, mind you, that is propping up prices, you've got this downward pressure and lack of sales and high interest rates, sort of a saving grace, which is keeping our prices from not fully plummeting, is the lack of inventory out there. I mean, there are so few homes on the market, part of which is because a lot of sellers just don't want to put their home on the market right now. But, we also have ever increasing immigration numbers. That's something we've talked about repeatedly on this podcast. And, we've thrown out this number that the federal government plans to increase the immigration numbers to 1.5 million over the next few years. So that pressure on the already lacking inventory is at least stabilizing prices a bit. And we'll look at that in the stats as we go down further.
So now let's look at the numbers for Metro Vancouver, aka Greater Vancouver. So there's been 3,000 new listings in the month of November in Metro Vancouver. Now that might seem like a lot, but that's actually almost a 23% decrease compared to November 2021. Now keep in mind, November 2021, that was still pretty hot in the COVID era. So that being said, we had been experiencing a few years of really low inventory, so it's not really saying that much. New listings are down over 24% in comparison to the previous month of October. Now, total listings now are at 9,200. Okay, that's a 28.5% increase year over year. But again, how much is that really saying comparing itself to a very rare anomaly, hopefully, in our lifetimes? Now, however, that is a decrease. So the new listings are decreased from October. So we're seeing a substantial shift here. Now, this shows that, very recently, homeowners are less likely to put their properties on the market. Not really an unreasonable or unexpected thing to have happen. When the snow hits, a lot of people tend to hibernate at home and they don't like to go out. Now, if you're a buyer, this is great. Yes, you're going to have a little bit less inventory to work with, but more importantly, you're going to have more competition. On days when it snows, are people going to be out looking at properties? No. But if you've got a 4x4 or your realtor has a 4x4, side note, Azim and I both have 4x4 SUVs, then you're going to be able to make it to a property where someone else can't. You're going to be able to write an offer probably lower because there's less competition. So something to keep in mind.
So one of my favorite stats is the sales to active ratio. And for those of you that don't know, that is the ratio that looks at how many units have sold versus how many are on the market. And it's a key indicator. It's the indicator that relates to what we call a seller's versus balanced versus buyer's market. Very quickly, if that ratio is 12% or lower, we consider it a buyer's market. If it's 20% or higher, it's a seller's market. And in between, we call it a balanced market. Overall, in November, the sales to active ratio in Metro Vancouver was 17.6%, so quite strong, in fact. And when we break it down by class, if we look at detached homes, it was down at 13.2%. So, still in the balance side, but closer to a buyer's market. But when you look at townhomes at 19.7% and condos at a whopping 20.8%, you're seeing that those markets are still very strong, if in fact stronger than what you might be hearing on the street.
It's crazy to think that after everything that's going on, the doom and gloom, pending recession, or we're already in a recession, highest interest rates we've had in, forever, blah, 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 we're still not in a buyer's market across the board. It's just like Vancouver. You're too resilient for this kind of stuff. Like, take a bit of a dip so people can scoop up some buying opportunities.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a dip from October further. So the numbers are coming down a bit, but I think that's just the Vancouver market. It's our strong Vancouver market.
So let's talk about the benchmark price for Metro Vancouver. To be clear, this is all property classes. That includes condos, townhomes, and houses. That sits at $1.1 million, 31,600. Now, that represents 0.6% less than this time last year. So let's think about that for a second. Yes, the property values have come down 1.5%, but we only just now got to a point where we're actually less than we were. Everyone thinks, property values, they've come down so much. They haven't. You go back 1 year, we're just 0.6 below where we were a year ago. Very interesting to think about that. So we're down 1.5% compared to October, and a whopping 10.2% decrease over the last 6 months. But it's still not nearly as low as everybody thought and expected. And if that wasn't even the high point that we saw a couple months earlier in March, technically the data would be a little bit higher.
So what does this all mean? Well, it's definitely a good time to buy a home right now. Prices are down, as we discussed, and there's not a lot of competition out there in buyers. So you don't have to worry about going up against a ton of multiple offers, and in many cases, not even one multiple offer. So that's a good thing. You really have the time to research and look into the property and not make a blind decision like a lot of people were back in the springtime. Now, on the flip side, is it a good time to sell? Well, if you need to sell, the one bit of good news is that your home will probably stand out amongst what's out there because, quite frankly, inventory numbers are low. Where a lot of people are and where it's definitely a good time to move forward is if you're looking to sell your home and buy another home. Definitely if you're looking to upgrade, like we hope most people are, as you move on in life, you want to buy something bigger, more expensive, nicer neighborhood. Well, think of it this way. yes, your current home has come down in value, but the next place that's more expensive has come down as well. And from a percentage standpoint, overall, you're going to get a cheaper price. You're going to pay a lower differential between what you're selling and what you're buying. So definitely a good time if you're looking to upgrade your current home. Now, the big question, Jesse, do you think we're at rock bottom in prices right now?
So surprisingly, the so-called bottom of the market was actually this past summer for a lot of areas. So I took some notes here. Now, the following areas hit the bottom of the market in August or September, and they've only come up since then. Vancouver West Side homes are up 180,000. Vancouver West Side condos, they're up almost 120,000. Vancouver East Side houses are up. North Vancouver houses are up almost 100 grand. North Vancouver condos are up 55,000. Richmond condos up 60 grand. Burnaby houses up $280,000. Burnaby condos are up 30,000. Port Moody houses are up $390,000. Pitt Meadow condos are up 100 grand. I mean, I can keep going on here. It's interesting because a lot of people thought the market was going to tank. Some areas are up. Don't get me wrong. Some areas are down. So it really depends on what you're looking to do, or where you're living, where you're looking to sell, where you're looking to buy. So my point is, don't get too hung up on trying to find the bottom if you're one of those people on the fence, because unfortunately, depending on the area you're looking for, you might have already missed it. So, only time is really going to tell. As the data comes out, time goes on, we're going to be able to figure out what's really going on. The Vancouver real estate is a resilient beast. It's remarkable what it can withstand through external economical pressures. So, yeah, that's it for this episode. Please don't forget to pick up a copy of my best-selling book, Rockstar Real Estate Investing. You can find it on Amazon, and we are here for your questions anytime.
Yeah, as Jesse said, if you're looking to buy in this market, if you're looking to sell your home, if you just want to get a home evaluation or even just chat with us about the market and get our feedback, definitely reach out to us. Our contact information is in the info below the video. Now, if you're in the real estate industry as a real estate professional, or you're looking to get in the industry and you want to hear a bit more about EXP and this awesome collaborative movement that is our brokerage, definitely reach out. We would love to chat with you about all the benefits of working with EXP. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe the video. We hope to see you next time.